Hey everyone, and welcome to another WWT Experts session. My name is Matthew Coble. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about digital strategy with this guy, Charlie Lawhorn. Charlie is a chief digital advisor here at Worldwide Technology, and he's always consulting with our clients on complex transformation initiatives, on blending together design, experience design, all the digital technologies it takes to drive great business outcomes. I know that's something that Charlie has always focused on, and in the current data-driven marketplace we're in, that's what you got to do to really succeed. In his career, Charlie's touched on sales, marketing, strategy, experience design, customer success, and lots more across lots of different industries, lots of different clients, many brand names that you would recognize. And he's often speaking with senior level contacts and often also asked to do events like this and others around the industry. So we're happy today to have Charlie Lawhorn with us.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
Nice
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, man. It's always fun hanging out. So listen, we're talking about digital strategy today. So, that's been a thing in the market for a while. I've practiced that in my career, you have in yours. What's the current state of affairs with digital strategy thinking that you're hearing from clients these days?
Wow. Let's see. From a digital strategy perspective, it's across the board. Depends on the industry a lot. We're seeing a lot of different strategies to bring in more automation, AI, ML. That's a hot topic or trend. A lot of unification of systems and cleanup of platforms and technologies.
Yep.
That's a big part of it. And then every once in a while we get to do some really fun things around kind of entering a new market or helping a customer explore new monetization strategies or other fun things too.
Yeah.
So,
well, and quite frankly, that's some of my favorite stuff. Like, how are we going to do this thing that's never been done before? You got to figure it out and bring the creativity to bear against that.
And we're seeing that in everywhere right now, from oil and gas space, where people are trying to reduce how many people are on oil rigs and try and drive automation and or remote controlled type drone capabilities. We're seeing that in the mining space, where we've been working for a long time, but there's a lot of innovation around digitizing and driving sensors and technologies to reduce preventative maintenance cycles and decrease costs. Retail, healthcare, all over the place. There's a lot going on right now from a strategy perspective.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I've definitely seen is that, companies have focused for years from a digital strategy standpoint on the customer experience and only the customer experience, right? And something that's happening now that I think we're doing at Worldwide Technology and it's important is that balance focus on the customer experience and the employee experience using common digital technologies as that footprint, because companies are recognized, like our employees are representing our brand in the market and really delivering that customer experience. We got to power them just as much as we do provide these great digital experiences for the customer, right?
Yeah, and I think that's an area that we're seeing a lot right now is, I won't say it's a shift away from the customer, but people have focused so much on the customer experience for the last few years, especially during COVID, that they're trying to level up the employee experiences. They're trying to bring those experiences up to par. You can really only focus on one side of the experience game, the customer side or the employee side, for so long before they get out of whack again. And so you kind of have to continually level up each side of that to catch up with each other.
And they have to kind of stay sort of in balance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I know there's a lot of, digital strategy shifted pretty fundamentally coming through the pandemic, because we had to sort of change how we did many of the things that we did. And in the rush to do that, there's now a fair amount of tech debt out there that we're having to recover from. Yeah. So I'm curious what you're seeing there, and to what extent are digital strategies, are they slowing down to really deal with the tech debt and sort of normalize things, or are they speeding up because the market keeps going fast and you got to keep going faster and faster to keep up with your competitors?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, the classic.
And do it all with less budget and get it done by the end of the month, right? I mean,
and put it in the cloud, but not really, because we still need it to be on-prem.
With Edge.
With Edge.
Yeah, and all of those things. There's a ton of cleanup out there. There always has been. Companies always have tech debt. But I do think people rushed to deploy a lot of new technologies just over the last few years. Sometimes they needed it just for the next 6 to 12 months. Sometimes it's going to be a sustainable technology that they want to hang on to for a while, but it was duct taped into or not even integrated into the stack. And so there's a lot of behind the scenes plumbing and cleanup happening. but it's not really slowing down the transformation side of the business. It's more asking IT to keep up with the transformation that we're seeing. So it's pushing and stressing a lot of our IT partners to design for the future, but also clean up at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and also hear, from you and other colleagues around here that I think a lot of our IT clients are recognizing that they are becoming ever more fundamental to the success of the business and have more power in that and more influence and also more responsibility to make the right decisions that are driving a business outcome. So are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I was with a customer, you said power, I was with an actual energy and power utility company yesterday, talking about strategy for power transmission and grid and all this kind of fun stuff. And there's really two sides to their business. There's kind of the keep the lights on in the plants, and then there's innovation around new technologies and being able to have customers come in and resell their power back into the grid, using voice to turn on or off the capability. Am I consuming power or am I supplying power as a residential customer? And they want to make an Alexa skill that can make it so simple for somebody to do that. So we're seeing transformation and just awesome technology innovation happening in even some of the most standard utility companies out there. It's everywhere. And the reason I bring that one up is because there was a long discussion around transformational teams versus operational teams, even within IT itself. And they're starting to segment themselves that way to where they have both a classic operational IT function and then they have a transformational pod or model to go actually drive innovation. From a technology perspective, that's not a cost center anymore, but it's a value generator.
Yeah. Well, you reminded me of another client organization that needs to be perfectly stable and solid with their core business. I'm being vague because I can't say who it is, but they have asked us to replicate their production environments in our Advanced Technology Center specifically so they can experiment with innovative stuff, right? And bring in tech startups and others to sort of try things out much more quickly than they can in their own environment, and then concurrently sort of move the best things back into production. So they're really excited about innovating, but also keeping that stability in their infrastructure, which I think is cool. And it's cool that we get to do stuff like that.
That topic comes up a lot, right? So the thread that customers pull on, and they use the term digital twin all the time. And right now, from a digital twin perspective, there's different types of digital twins. Sometimes I want a digital twin of my IT ecosystem using Worldwide's labs and ATC and having sandbox environments to go test and play with different solutions. Sometimes I want a digital twin of my experience. So we're working with a hotel and casino out of Vegas where they want a digital twin that will help them understand if we change the line formation to this pattern versus that pattern, what does it do for retention of people in the line? Or when a show, a Cirque du Soleil show lets out, do most guests go right or left? And should I have a restaurant there or a restroom here? And so they're trying to digital twin not just the technology, but sometimes the experience.
Yeah, and I imagine in that case, it's not just sort of, it's creating sort of virtual spaces of those real world, and then being able to sort of simulate with AI analytics algorithms and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and one of the cool examples too from the same customer out of Vegas is they plan tons of conferences and events. Event planners have to fly out, walk the space, see the floor. They typically do that.
They do that from home. And
they typically do it multiple times. Well, what if we can go out the first time, get the vibe for the room and the space, and then what if I could have a digital twin that would allow me to move seated tables versus standing tables and just see how that experience would impact my event? I don't need to physically be there to have a person move a table, but that's how they do it today. Tomorrow, they're trying to get it to where, come on out, let's do a site visit, make sure the space fits your needs, but then go home and tinker and play with the digital twin to really mock up how you think the flow of the event should be.
Cool. I like that stuff.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Well, I want to bridge that to, we talked earlier about computer vision, right? And that there's some instances of where we're, working with some client organizations around computer vision. We've been doing it for a while, but there's some new and interesting stuff happening there. So why don't you tell us about that?
Computer vision's everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no real one standard yet. We're working with a lot of our top partners, from the NVIDIAs and Intels of the world to the big cloud providers of Amazon and Google and Microsoft, all of them trying to figure out how to leverage computer vision or machine models to drive certain types of automation. And so from the restaurant space, we're working with the customer to help understand if they're out of inventory and remove that item from availability so you don't order something that they don't have. From a retail space, how can we deploy cameras to keep up with some of the frictionless checkout options? Can we do scan and go? Can we make sure that people aren't scanning one bottle of wine and then substituting a really great bottle of wine in the bag, right?
Right.
Cameras can tell, weight sensors can't. And so we're seeing a lot around computer vision. And as much as computer vision is a new discussion for so many customers, we've got a mining customer that we've been working with for almost a decade using computer vision to help reduce preventative maintenance cycles on grinders and gears and looking to see if there's wear and tear on devices, or making sure that there's no jam of rocks or mud that's stopping production.
Yeah.
So some of these are new, and some of these are just new use cases of similar technologies.
Well, and I've seen, some of our photography of that around case studies. So it's some cool stuff, right? These are giant machines and a giant mining operation that, if it goes down, it's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So the more you can keep it running, it's a significant value to that client. So
And
it's cool stuff.
we're seeing it in asset management. The airlines want to know where the luggage trucks are, the carts and things like that, to where they can be more efficient at finding your luggage.
I do too.
Me too, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I put an air tag in my bags now, so I can
That
sort of
solves everything.
At least I know where it is. It may not be here, but I can help track it down.
Yep.
Well, another question for you. So as I move through the world, I annoy my family regularly because I'll see, poor experiences, poor digital interfaces and stuff like that. And, it's in the airport, it's when I'm shopping, it's, often when we're traveling, and I feel like they're like, come on, Dad, let's just go. Like, do you see the world like that too? Are you always sort of deconstructing how digital could be better out in the world?
Yeah, I guess I'm a critic. It's really hard when you spend most of your time trying to make things more seamless and more frictionless.
Yeah.
I do sometimes, although I don't look like George Clooney, I feel like George Clooney and Up in the Air when he wasn't sure which line that he wanted to get in for the most efficient process.
Yeah.
I find myself doing that all the time in different experiences and questioning, why is this so difficult? It doesn't have to be.
Well, I'll give you one example. So I'm checking out a retailer, and the interface is asking, do you want cash back? And I'm like, no. And the next question is the amount okay?
Why not?
Yes, right?
Oh, they don't ask you why not?
No, they don't ask me why not. But so that interface saying, do you want cash back? No. Well, there was lag in the hardware, and so you'd say, do you want cash back? No. I said no, which then is answering the amount okay question, no, which resets the register and starts the whole trend. So I got to make a credit card back out again. The cashier's got to run the thing again. I got to do. And I'm asking the person, like, how often does this happen? It's like, oh my gosh, like every third customer does this. Just because the lag in the hardware created that bad point of friction in that experience. And I just think more and more companies need to really think about all of those little teeny touch points. And you've talked about, and we've talked about also, like, how do you really do that journey research to understand what's going on? So I know you see stuff in the market, but how do you then work with an actual client to understand those things and track customers, track employees?
I go inside and yell at the manager.
You do?
No, I don't.
Does it work?
I don't. It doesn't really get anywhere. It's not their fault. I had that happen yesterday. I tried to go to the car wash.
Okay.
The new digital cool car washes, they're popping up all over town.
Right.
There are 3 lanes. There's an express lane. I'm not express. There's 2 other lanes, both with credit card machines.
Don't work.
The guy in front of me is in the middle one, so what do I think? I'm going to move to the right lane, just like I'm in a fast food restaurant. Pick a lane, try and move fast. Choose my car wash, go to payment, lane closed. It told me the lane was closed after
you paid.
After I put an item in the cart, and after it asked me for payment, then it came up with a lane closed. Well, wouldn't just an orange cone have solved that whole thing? Like, it doesn't have to be a technology to solve some of these friction points.
Yeah, that's funny. Another thing like that came up recently. here that, we're talking about how we can update something with technology, and the best answer coming out of the brainstorming was, why don't we put a sticker on the pole? And it's the right answer, right?
Yes, it is.
That lo-fi thing, but it makes all the
Everybody
difference.
thinks that solving for a better customer journey has to include all of these technologies, and sometimes it's the removal of technologies.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a sticky note that's the answer, and that's okay.
And that is absolutely okay. Well, so when you work with a client, though, whether it's this car wash, the checkout, how do you do that journey modeling with the employee experience, the customer experience? So what steps do you go through to really do that?
We have an awesome team at Worldwide, a whole human-centered design team that really does both the research around the different personas and roles and needs of customers, all the way through to just walking in the shoes of that customer or that employee, going and working in their restaurants or going and working in their stores or going and spending time in a hospital and understanding kind of the check-in flow and watching how patients interact. So it's a combination of both research, but also just sitting in their shoes and walking through that process and flow to try and figure out how we can make it better.
All right, last question. What are you excited about? If you think about digital strategy, just your kind of position at the vanguard of kind of where the digital world is going, what are you super excited about hearing about and seeing in the coming years? We're talking about AR, we're talking about AI, talking about like metaverse, and I mean that really like more from your own personal standpoint and a little bit from the client standpoint too. I guess both. What do you think?
Our team's involved in some really cool stuff around metaverse right now. Some big announcements are kind of being made really soon, and some launches that are really pretty cool and game-changing.
Back.
I would love to. I'd love to get the head of metaverse that we're working with to join.
You don't have to move down the couch.
He can sit over there.
Oh, okay.
But no, so there's a lot in both AR and VR. We're seeing AR happen a ton right now, where people are trying to augment workers, give them real-time information as they're making decisions into goggles or glasses or watches or phones or whatever that is.
Yep.
The VR piece, I think, has a tremendous amount of potential. I'm really excited to watch what's happening with tools like the Unreal Engine and other things where it's really hard to tell the difference between reality and simulation. So I think there's going to be a ton there. Most of that had been around either gaming or around training, right? Flight simulators are a great example of that for years. I do think over the next 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to start to see how that interacts in the business world. I do think people are going to start doing virtual meetings in a virtual space, not just through a device. Why can't we all just sit around a campfire? Why can't you and I be sitting on the beach right now having this conversation?
We should. Well, I did see that, during the pandemic, there were a few teams that were meeting over the campfire in Red Dead Redemption. On their PlayStations and their Xboxes, right?
Started in gaming, it's gonna move.
Gaming definitely is a leading indicator of where a lot of the stuff is going in the world. I like VR stuff too. I'm really much more of a proponent of the AR and mixed reality stuff because I like the idea that it augments our human experience that we already have in the real world. It's not to say there's not room for VR, but I think that'll be more media, entertainment, gaming kinds of experiences, but both are interesting. And you didn't mention, your love of cryptocurrencies. You into that? NFTs, how'd you not know?
Yeah, well,
I didn't bring up just because there's some things that sort of come and go a little bit. ChatGPT is the hot thing right now. I think AI in general.
Everybody needs ChatGPT.
Everybody's got to try that out.
The irony is we used ChatGPT internally the other day, Matt. We were interviewed around unified commerce.
Okay.
And the team that interviewed myself and a handful of other people basically didn't really understand what unified commerce is, so the quality of the document that we got back was pretty rough. And so I jokingly said to one of the guys on our team, Jay, who you know Jay.
I know Jay.
I said, hey, why don't we run this through ChatGPT and see what happens?
Yeah.
It actually wrote a really well documented.
Pretty good, right?
I was shocked.
Yeah.
It came back well structured, well formatted, with concise points, and we sent that back, and they polished it a tiny bit, but they basically used the ChatGPT version of it rather than the draft they sent us.
All right, well, I'm not going to tell the teacher that's how they did their homework.
I'm afraid of that with my kids, right?
Yeah, well, and I'd see that there's some interesting, tests to see whether the AI wrote this. AI is coming out too, so it's like going both sides.
AI to check the AI.
Right. But that's absolutely going to be an interesting space. I don't think it's replacing, it's not going to replace that many jobs. I mean, I think it just elevates us to do more interesting things as humans and creates new creative spaces for us to,
In that case, it didn't replace
anyone.
anyone. It just helped us take away from some time-consuming tasks of just rewriting or reflowing, and it did 80% of that legwork for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, we could do this all day, but I'm going to wrap there. Charlie Lawhorn, always great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, and thank you for coming today, WWT experts, and all kinds of great sessions for you to see out on WWT.com. Back catalog that's out there on demand. New ones coming up. Check it out, WWT.com/events. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.